Hello, welcome to the instruction video how to install MegaCellMonitor on a Windows machine. As you can see, the most boring part is the installation of the operating system itself. So if you skip to 1 minute 15, that's where we are actually starting the installation. This is just merely to show what has been done. It's a clean install, Windows 10 Enterprise, but it will work on Home and Pro as well. That's been tested, including the ARM processor architecture for anyone that has a tablet kind of device. That works as well. So once the installation is done of Windows, we're good to go and start downloading the installation of Microsoft SQL. And because we don't want to pay for it, we're using the Microsoft SQL Express, which is a free tool from Microsoft, but has its limitations. You can't have a database bigger than 2 gigs, but that should be more than sufficient for our purposes. Now, once you've logged in, Google to the Microsoft SQL Express installation and download it from the Microsoft site. So once the download is completed, you will have an installer, and you click the installer to start the installation. It will throw a warning. Are you sure you want to do it? You need to be administrator, by the way, for your local machine to be able to install. And once you've clicked the message away that you're fine with the installation and you do understand what you're doing, then the installation will actually get started. Now, we're doing a basic installation. That means that we're not tailoring it in any shape or form. If you want to, feel free to do so. It doesn't matter where your database files are stored, where you put your log files, where your temp partition. That is, for the application irrelevant. But for ease of install, we just tick basic, click next, and finish the installation until SQL is installed. Now, we need to wait again. Luckily, we have sped up the video a little bit, so the installation of SQL actually goes faster than normal. It takes, I think, a couple of minutes. Eventually, you can look at the time in the bottom right corner. It increases, I think it was somewhere around 6 minutes. Now, make sure that once it's done, that you copy the connection string details to a notepad. You might need them later, so it's better to save them somewhere on your desktop or in your documents folder for future purposes. Then the next step is to download the management software for SQL. There's a button for it which opens a web browser towards the executable that you need to download. And once that's done, you can also start that installation and follow the default settings. You can also deviate from the default, and no big issue. The system is quite flexible if you want to install it on another drive, etc. But in our example, we do it on the default drive, which is the C volume. So downloading takes a couple of seconds, and once the download is done, then the installation will be performed. All right, here we go. Now, don't do anything, just click install and wait for the installation to complete. It'll take a couple of minutes for this part to be done as well, but it allows you to manage your SQL properly, at least. All right, let's restart the machine once more, and then we're good to go and get the configuration running. Okay, so first we open up the Management Studio and then connect to the database for making the first changes which require a restart of your SQL server. So once loaded, right click on the top bar, click Properties, and navigate to the security page to select a SQL Server Authentication and Windows Integrated. That allows us to make a local SQL user and use it to log on instead of integrated credentials. Next, you want to have also the TCP/IP enabled in the Microsoft SQL configuration settings. Yeah, there you go, and click it to open up. And once that's opened, navigate towards the native connections, if I can remember correctly. Here we go, yes. So you go to the SQL native client, and there you enable No, this was the one underneath. It's the SQL Server Network Configuration. There you enable your TCP/IP settings. Now this would also need a restart, so we've changed both settings in one go, so we have only to restart the services once. Open up the Services Management Console by services.msc and navigate to SQL, right click, restart, and you're basically good to go. SQL settings are all done. So next we'll follow the installation and creation of the database. So when you go to the Dutch Firewall for You website and you click on the page, you will see that there's a script that you need to kick off. So you run a new query, you paste everything into the query window, and when you actually do a validate, you will notice that the MegaCell database is not there. Oh, that's good. Click execute and the database and the tables are created. Now next you go to security, logins, create new user, create a SQL Server authentication, and call the user MegaCell charger. Now make sure that you deselect the policies, because if you leave the policies enabled, you need to restart all over again with the user creation, because the application doesn't support the password change at logon. That's something that I will build eventually, because it's such a common mistake by everyone that it's basically mandatory. But for the first beta release, you need to be a little bit careful and ensure that you disable that default policy before you created the user. Now don't change anything to server roles. Select the MegaCell charger database and make that user a DB owner. All right, you're good to go. Now the next step is the installation of the software. It will automatically download. It's an auto installer. It pulls the download from our website, and then once you've installed it, and you do need to click yes, I haven't digital signed it yet. Once you downloaded it, you can actually start it up. Now at first run, you will notice that it will not start. Deliberately, I created a security feature that allows it to run only for a certain point in time, because it's a beta version, and at some point, once we have a production release, I don't want this to be hitting us if we want to do support, and I need to check what version do you have, do you still have the beta, blah 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 blah, and people are not updating regularly. So here you see the message, no license file found, which is expected. So go to the website and download the file and put it in the folder Connect and Exchange on your root drive. So once downloaded, open it, copy the file towards Connect and Exchange on your root drive, and then you basically are good to go. There we go. And now start the application again from the start menu. It'll automatically check for new versions, and you'll see it starts up just fine. So go to settings, fill in all the details, like the database settings, add your MegaCell charger, select it, and then read the defaults just to make sure that the defaults are correct. If not, you can basically change the defaults and have that sorted. If you click, if you add a wrong one, then it will not read it. It will say NA, it'll take some time. It has a timeout of approximately 30 seconds to a minute before it completes. So then remove that the MegaCell charger IP address from the list, because it will create only problems. And the engine will try to keep pulling it, that won't work, etc., which is not recommended. So if it's not working, please remove it. Otherwise the system will become sluggish and slow, and that will have a bad user experience. There we go, removed. All right. Now, once that's done, you can basically use the menu to do any operation you want on all of them, on only charger number 1, only on charger number 2, or you can use the rows to manipulate basically what you're going to do with your charger. At this moment, we only have general settings. We don't have battery cell specific settings, meaning per charger you can set a default. Let's say you want to charge it up to 4.1 volts. But you can't do that on cell level. So you can't say cell 1 I want to have 4.1, cell 2 I want to have 4.2, etc, etc. That's not built in yet, will be implemented later on. So you can do all those things as well, but not for now. As you've seen just now, we clicked also on the voltage cell, and that will show you the graph over time. Now you're set up, good to go. Play around and let me know what you think. Thank you guys.